You got the promotion, you finished the project, someone complimented you today. And yet, somewhere underneath all of that, a quiet voice is still running the same calculation. Not enough. Not yet. Maybe never. If that voice is familiar, it is not a character flaw. It is a psychological pattern with a name, a mechanism, and a history that almost certainly started long before you were old enough to choose it. Psychologists call it chronic self-insufficiency, and it sits at the intersection of two well-documented phenomena, imposter syndrome and what researcher Kristin Neff has spent decades studying as the failure of self-compassion. But the roots go deeper than either of those labels. Developmental psychologist John Bowlby spent much of his career mapping how early attachment experiences shape the internal models children build about their own worth. His central finding was this: when a child receives love that feels conditional, love that arrives most reliably when they perform, achieve, or behave in specific ways, that child builds an internal model that says worth must be earned. And earned worth is never secure because the next performance is always coming. You carry that model into adulthood, into your work, into your relationships, into the quiet moments when nobody is watching and the voice asks whether you have done enough to deserve the space you are taking up. Psychologist Carol Dweck identified something adjacent to this in her research on mindset. She found that children who were praised specifically for being smart rather than for their effort became more fragile in the face of failure. They tied their identity to outcomes, and when the outcomes were uncertain, which they always eventually are, their entire sense of worth became uncertain with it. This is the core trap. When your value feels like something you have to prove rather than something you simply have, every failure becomes existential. Every criticism becomes evidence. Every success becomes temporary, something that will need to be proven again tomorrow. Neuroscientist Ethan Kross has studied the inner voice extensively, and his research reveals something important. The voice that says not enough is not a neutral narrator. It is a threat detection system that was calibrated in childhood, often in environments where love or safety was inconsistent. It learned to push you to do more, be more, prove more because at some point, that strategy kept you safe and connected to the people who mattered most. The voice is not your enemy. It is an old protector, still doing a job it was assigned decades ago. But here is what that protector never learned. The job is finished. You are no longer a child whose belonging depends on performance. You are an adult who can choose, consciously and with effort, to offer yourself the kind of acceptance that was never consistently offered to you. Kristin Neff's research on self-compassion is among the most replicated findings in modern psychology. She found that treating yourself with the same basic kindness you would offer a struggling friend, acknowledging difficulty without judgment, and recognizing that imperfection is universal rather than personal does not make people complacent. It makes them more resilient, more willing to try again after failure, more able to see their own work clearly without the distortion of shame. The voice that says not enough is loud because it was trained to be. It got reinforced every time it pushed you to work harder, do better, earn more approval. But volume is not the same as truth.